Well, Missouri education officials say they will not meet a deadline in 7 days to clear a backlog in child care subsidy payments. Daycare providers have been promised that money for months, and the delay has now forced dozens in the state to close. Missouri Capitol Bureau Chief Joe McLean has the latest update from the state's education department.
Leaders from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education told the state school board yesterday they've largely solved the underlying problem that caused this mess in the first place. Now it's about finishing cleaning up the mess, which they say will take just a little bit longer. DESE has been scrambling to clear 3 different backlogs. First, the growing pile of applications from families needing the child care subsidy. The department is most of the way caught up on those, with only about 1,700 left to review, a comparable amount to previous years at this same point.
To clarify, I'm not saying that we've closed out all cases. We are still waiting on information from parents, and there's still records with technical glitches or issues, but the amount of these is much less than it was.
The second backlog is of applications from providers wanting to start collecting the subsidy or renewing their contract. The office says it's caught up on those through September. The third and most complicated backlog is the process of reviewing and correcting more than 1,800 provider payments made between January and June, each one having to be thoroughly scrutinized.
This is very complex, and so the opportunity to dive in and learn what these systems can and can't do right now, we are figuring out better ways to do it every day.
Since January of this year, 70 child care providers have ended their contract with the state for that child care subsidy, while 141 new providers have applied for the program. Today, I asked some Missouri child care providers, what was your reaction to the update from DESE yesterday?
I would like to put my hope into what it is that they're saying. I mean, we've been hearing a whole lot of stuff for over the last past year now. I would believe it when I see it.
And it's always been the next month, from May to June or to July to August. Every month we're told that it's the next month. It's nothing new.
DESE leaders said they're cautiously optimistic everything will be back to normal by Thanksgiving break. In Jefferson City, Joe McLean, WGEM News.